flood dangers across the state after heavy rains wash out the first snowfall of the season.
Seeing some crazy flooding, like in the time I've lived here, I've never seen anything like this.
A mandatory evacuation in Norwich after a dam partially breaches.
It's very much a minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour situation.
Crews call in a boat to help rescue residents trapped in a Domino's pizza.
We could not walk out across the current in the parking lot.
Plus, officials in the capital city respond to recurring flooding in the North End.
We need to fix the problem.
We want to make sure that everyone gets the help that they've been waiting for.
Live team coverage starts right now.
Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
A flooding disaster in Norwich and Basra. Sky 61 capturing the scene left behind after heavy rains compromised a dam, causing concerns for the community. A mandatory evacuation in the area just lifted about an hour ago. Good evening and thanks for joining us for the news at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Carmen Chow. Evacuations have been ordered in 2 Connecticut towns after that dam was compromised.
We have live team coverage tonight, but first let's send it over to Fox 61's Matt Karen, who's in Basra. Matt, you're learning the dam has a history of neglect, right?
Yeah, it certainly does. You know, there's been a lot of concerning news today, so let's just start with the good news. And that is the fact that all those mandatory evacuation orders have now been lifted. And in nearby Norwich, all the residents now have their power back on. But behind me is the culprit that started all the chaos, and it's called the Fitchville Pond Dam. Its purpose, of course, to hold back the Yanthick River. And at about 7 o'clock this morning, it just couldn't handle that anymore. Raging floodwaters started flowing around the side of it, causing a very real concern that there could be a catastrophic failure.
The left abutment was leaking from this dam, something we hadn't seen before.
Following a 7 a.m. breach of the Fitchville Pond Dam, mandatory evacuation orders were issued for parts of Norwich and Basra as the Yanthick River raged a full 4 feet beyond critical flood stage. Backyards turned into ponds.
Somehow the river overflowed, came right down our driveway, swept through all of this, ended up in our backyard.
And basements into swimming pools.
Basra Fire Department was nice enough to bring us this super industrial strength pump.
It's just remarkable. People are telling me they've never seen Yanthick River as full as it is today. This goes back to the flooding of 1938 and maybe Noah.
The dam itself, built in 1840, then rebuilt in 1880, is deemed a high hazard dam, meaning its catastrophic failure would cause loss of life.
It's higher than I've ever seen it. I've lived here for 3 years and I lived across the street for 3 years before that, and I've never in my life seen the river even touch this level.
The dam breach forced Norwich Public Utilities to shut down an electrical substation, leaving 5,000 residents in the dark for what could be several days.
It's a very much a minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour situation. So we've got 5,000 people right now without power, wondering if they're going to be able to have a hot meal tonight or take a shower if they get home from work.
As for the dam itself, we learned it's privately owned by Seymour Sand and Gravel.
There's a history of enforcement action on this dam, yes.
Private owners are required to hire a licensed engineer and submit emergency action plans to the state.
This dam does not have an emergency action plan.
The dam was last inspected by the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection in 2022. Multiple issues were discovered.
There was problems with the dams, and we've been monitoring this dam during storms, and we keep an eye on it.
So you might be wondering what comes next. Well, according to state officials, what they're going to be doing in the coming days is actually building a second temporary dam in front of this original dam. And what that's going to allow them to do is to siphon or suck out all of the water in between those two dams. It's going to allow engineers and other crews to get in there to have access to the bottom of the original structure of the dam and see what's broken and how exactly to permanently fix it going forward. It could be several days before all that's completed. We're live in Basra. Matt Karen, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Matt, thank you. So again, mandatory evacuations were just lifted in Norwich. Officials saying it's now safe for residents to return to their homes. Meteorologist Ryan Breton is there and joins us live now. So Ryan, what are the conditions right now? What do they look like?
Well, Brent and Carmen, it remains in major flood. The concern this morning, those flooding conditions could be even worse if that dam upstream was compromised. But without that even happening, this river reached its highest level in more than 40 years.
It has flooded here before, but I'm not sure if it has flooded this much.
Norwich resident Mark Robinson, like many Wednesday morning, stunned by the raging Yantic River and the mandatory evacuation notice.
Look at how fast that's running, that water. I mean, this looks more like a boat launch in a parking lot.
The Yantic River rising more than 10 feet in just 10 hours, followed by fears the Fitchville Pond Dam upstream in Basra could become compromised.
My daughter's up there evacuating people now.
Todd Raymond grew up in Norwich, his daughter a firefighter responding to those who live in the evacuation zone.
Last I heard, she was just, they were bringing boats to the people to get them out of their houses.
Downriver, Bacchus Hospital facing feet of water in their rear parking lot, almost as if it was part of the Yantic River today.
When we experience weather events, typically any kind of flooding of the Yantic River, we close parking lot 5, and we did experience flooding in parking lot 5 several feet.
Vice President of Operations for Hartford Healthcare, Matthew Kaufman, says hospital operations are not affected by the flooding, and that bus was out of commission anyway.
It's crazy. Like, I've never seen it ever in my life like this, and I grew up here. I spent 40 years here. Never ever seen it like this.
A record wet stretch now having real consequences.
With all the water we've gotten over the last, month or so, is it any surprise? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And there is no end in sight, with another soaking rain possible later this week. And tonight there are two big questions that remain. One, how will the river respond to the upcoming 1 to 2 inches of rain Friday night into Saturday? And two, will the dam upstream remain intact? Officials tonight saying that evacuation order has been lifted, but if they feel it's necessary to put it back in place because the dam becomes unstable, they will consider that action. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. For now, we're live in Norwich. I'm meteorologist Ryan Breton, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Ryan, thank you. While notoriously flood-prone areas in Hartford do not feel as much of an impact, it's still something residents have dealt with for decades.
And today, state leaders updated the public on a new flood damage compensation program there that some advocates say doesn't go far enough.
Fox 61's political reporter Emma Wolfhorst joins us now in studio with this exclusive story. Emma.
Carmen, Brent, this morning, attorneys with the National Legal Defense Fund met with House Speaker Matt Ritter's office about the Hartford Flood Compensation Program. They say the funding isn't being doled out equitably and want state lawmakers to change the program in the upcoming legislative session.
This is not right. We see the disparities. We see the discrimination.
Flooding isn't new for Hartford residents, especially those in the North End.
Even on good storms, where there's minimal impact, that doesn't mean much to residents who right now have flooded basements, who are dealing with impacts on their own homes.
While Tuesday's storm didn't bring much new flooding to the capital city, advocates and state officials agree people are still hurting.
This is a health hazard that has been taking place for over 35 years in North Hartford.
During the 2023 legislative session, the state appropriated $5 million for the Hartford Flood Compensation Program, a new endeavor overseen by the state comptroller's office meant to provide financial assistance to residents who experienced flood damage after January 1st, 2021.
$1 million of the program has gone out so far to people who have been waiting for a very, very long time for a little bit of relief.
Since the program launched 3 months ago, there have been 348 applicants, with 100 people approved for funding so far.
We want to make sure that everyone gets the help that they've been waiting for, and that the help that we all know that they deserve.
But some advocates say a lot of people who deserve this help aren't getting it. Last month, the Legal Defense Fund sent this letter to the Speaker of the House, claiming the program is discriminatory.
They have excluded all the businesses in Hartford if the owners do not live and work in Hartford, and they pay taxes.
Local business owner Morris Hardaway was told he's not eligible for flood damage done to his Hartford storage company because he lives in Windsor.
We pretty much gave up after the last meeting.
Wednesday, lawmakers say they will look into this next session.
I'm sure with the leadership we have, we can find those resources to make sure everyone is included.
Both tell me they were encouraged by their call with the Legal Defense Fund and Speaker Ritter's office earlier today, but say they'll keep pushing throughout the legislative session, telling me they will file a federal lawsuit if the state statute isn't changed. Carmen, Brent.
Emma, thank you. And turning to the weather now, the rain has now moved out of Connecticut, but we're now dealing with the aftermath.
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Rachel Franca joining us now on Rach. As if the aftermath isn't enough, we've got another round coming in a couple of days.
Yeah, no rest for the weary. Well, we get 2 days rest. I hope you enjoy it because late Friday night into Saturday, we do have another round of heavy rain and gusty winds. It won't be as much as what we just received, but it might not take much to push things over the edge since rivers and streams are so high and the ground is already saturated. So we've talked in detail about the Yantic River, how it still is in major flood stage and is starting to fall. Also still in major flood stage is the Still River at Brookfield. That is also falling, but the Farmington River and Housatonic rivers are still coming up in some cases and will crest at minor flood stage as we head through the next 24 hours or so. We love to see this on the radar. Nothing. There is some snow to the northwest and some sprinkles as well, but those should just about miss us. And it's really mild out there. We do think temperatures tonight will drop close to the freezing point as winds continue to slowly diminish. So I can't rule out a few icy spots. I think the main roads and even the secondary roads are fine. The biggest concern is really if there's a little divot in your driveway that water has been collecting. That is the kind of thing that we could see. Maybe the side of the road where water hasn't really had a chance to escape. So those spots could be a little slick. Otherwise, it's a nice day tomorrow and Friday during the day. Before the rain returns, we'll time it out for you and talk about something more wintry next week coming up.
All right, Rachel, thank you. Well, a state police cruiser was hit last night on I-91 in Meriden while responding to a call. State police say the cruiser was parked with its emergency lights on when it was hit by another car that did not move over. The trooper in the cruiser was taken to a hospital for possible injuries, and the car was damaged. The other driver was not injured, but was given a ticket for speeding and failure to move over.
New tonight, Senator Chris Murphy is calling out Amazon's mistreatment of its delivery drivers. Murphy joining other senators in sending a letter to Amazon's CEO requesting information about alleged repeated mistreatment of its drivers. This is in response to 2021 data that found nearly 1 in 5 drivers were injured on the job. The letter also calling out Amazon for failing to recognize and bargain with workers who recently voted to unionize.